So Ethereum, home to the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap, is moving closer to the much anticipated, long in development transition to a proof of stake consensus system. This has some advantages around energy efficiency right off the bat. And then as we get kind of deeper into it, there are many hopes that this will allow the system to scale significantly beyond its current levels, which would then lower costs, among other things. By the most recent estimates from founder Vitalik Buterin, the real transition is going to happen, or at least could happen in August, and that assumes that things go well. One of the most important things that needs to go well is the test launch of the chain, or the test merge of the chain, where the exact processes that developers intend to use to do it for real will be practiced on one of Ethereum's several test nets. So there's more to this story, but Zach, I kind of just want, like, for me, this draws back to the basics of the ETH 2.0 story. It's been a long time coming. We've seen lots of timelines like this before. I feel like I've personally been waiting for this for like 6 years. Do you think that this is, like whether in August or September, like that we really are kind of close to this transition moment, or is this another kind of Charlie Brown football thing?
It does kind of feel like that thing, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And if you've been around this thing a few times, it feels as though I feel like I was hurt the last time that this was coming around. So I'm naturally wary that it's going to actually happen this time. That said, I do think it's going to actually happen this time. And I do think things are progressing relatively smoothly toward it. We saw this reorg on the Beacon chain not long ago, seven block reorganization that was a bit of a hiccup. No actual funds, as far as I can tell, were harmed because it is sort of that test run that's running in parallel to mainnet. So some of the pain was not felt there. But I think, again, that was an opportunity to realize that assembling these systems in flight is highly difficult, tricky, and time intensive. And I think as Ethereum becomes bigger and bigger, more and more important, sort of undergirding more and more dollars within the crypto economy, Ethereum developers are rightly cautious and concerned to make sure that nothing goes wrong when this actually happens. Now, that's been the cover for delay after delay after delay. This has been years and years and years in the making. Pretty much once Ethereum launched, it was already eyeing that next proof of stake transition, right? To get away from this interstitial proof of work, dirty mining, energy intensive way to secure a blockchain. So again, I am cautiously optimistic that this is going to happen, but we've seen some of these hiccups. We've seen some of this momentum toward the thing. And I feel like it is productive hiccups and productive momentum that may make the merge actually happen this time. But who am I to say? I'll pass it to Jen.
Adam, I have two questions for you. One is, are you personally, do you feel that pain? I heard that pain in your question to Zach. After waiting for 6 years, how do you feel about this deadline that keeps getting pushed out? And the second one is maybe a little bit sensational, but I think I have PTSD from all of the hacks we've seen over the past year. What is the potential, let's say, during the stress rehearsal or during the merge, that there is some kind of hiccup and people lose funds?
So let me take the second part first. So as far as the testnet, transition is concerned, there's no concern about losing funds. In a future scenario, really, there's not so much concern about losing funds. What there's concern about is the creation of multiple blockchains or multiple versions of the Ethereum blockchain. And that's something that very much could happen. When you're talking about these types of systems, you're talking about systems that rely on a lot of people who don't know each other for the most part and who don't necessarily have incentives that are the same or that, objectives that align with each other. You're trying to get them to all agree to a set of rules, and then to have everybody make the change over to those set of rules at the same time. And then also, you're making a change in consensus mechanism, which is the most fundamental part of a blockchain's technology stack, is how does it achieve consensus? So this is a huge transition, incredibly, incredibly ambitious. And even so, like in a bad scenario where something like this happens, you might see there be two blockchains, an ETH proof of work and an ETH proof of stake. And you might see maybe like in a worst case scenario, the proof of stake one just doesn't work. Well, you still have the proof of work one. So really what you're looking at here is not so much the concern about like fund loss. What you're looking at here is the concern about confidence loss. Right. Even when you're talking about the kind of rollback that Zach was describing, where there were 7 blocks on the new chain that had to be reorganized. Well, even if that happened on the main chain in real life with real money, it probably still wouldn't have resulted in any meaningful losses of customer funds, just because these types of structures really aren't that vulnerable to these types of attacks. So again, it always comes down to confidence. Do people have confidence that this is the technology stack that they are best on, or that other people will think is the one that they want to be on? Because there's very much a network effect and sort of a Bitcoin-like Ethereum is the obvious choice type of math that's going on here. To your first question, I don't take any of this stuff personally at this point. I've just become increasingly skeptical over time because, these are hard problems that we're trying to solve here, right? Like, this is not like there's a roadmap and we're just going down, here's, instructions 1 through 10. We don't know what we're doing. And it's taken a long time to figure out what we're doing. I have high hopes that we'll see it, but at the same time, I'll be surprised if it slips again. Zach, you get the last word.
I think it's safe to assume that something could go wrong when this happens. Not trying to FUD the merge or anything like that, but I think it was prudent to assume that at least some hiccup will occur. And I think it will be interesting to see how the community responds, right? Does this become the marketing opportunity of a lifetime for some of these competing base layers that promise to do the things that Ethereum can do, but faster and cheaper? And I think that goes back to Adam's point, the crisis of confidence. If that has long-term ramifications, should something go wrong, that could be really interesting to see how that changes the dynamic of the market heading into that next bull run. Maybe there is an emergent smart contract based chain that can supersede Ethereum in cultural importance within the crypto economy. Maybe that changes the calculus going forward for how these competing base layers work and attract users. And it's going to be interesting to see if there's some opportunistic marketing around that, right? We already saw when Terra imploded, different chains rolling out funds to attract Terra projects to build on their greener pastures, right? Should that happen with Ethereum, it's going to be interesting to see who stands to benefit the most and who kind of gets left behind. There's also the world in which Ethereum on a proof of stake world is far more efficient and also has that critical mass, that network effect where people are, that it makes those other base layers look far more unattractive, far less attractive, I guess would be the clear way to say that. So it's going to be interesting to see what this happens. And I think probably the people who are involved in getting this up and running are fully aware of the stakes that are involved in switching to proof of stake.